In 1992, Maine passed a law for term limits for its state senators and House of Representatives. If elected, would you vote for congressional term limits? And I'd like to have an answer from each of you.
Let's start with Sue Collins.
I do support term limits, and I have pledged that if I'm elected, I will only serve 2 terms, regardless of whether a term limits law, a constitutional amendment passes or not. 12 years is long enough to be in public service, make a contribution, and then come home and let someone else take your place.
Mary Landrieu, we think, is the winner in Louisiana. In Maine, we project that Susan Collins, a Republican, has held that seat for the Republicans. It was Bill Cohen's, and he's retiring. And so she has won there, we believe. And
Sam, give us a clue to the main one. Susan Collins, a former aide to Senator Cohen.
Yeah, she was a former aide of Senator Cohen's, and she worked in the state, and she held offices in the state. Her opponent was a former Democratic governor, Joe Brennan. At one point, it looked like he might win. As the days wore down, however, Susan Collins came back, and she's retained the seat.
Sometimes said he'd been around just too long, right?
Well, I don't want to be one to talk about being long in the tooth, Peter. I'm getting there, so I'm not going to accuse Joe Brennan of being that. He and Susan Collins ran against each other for the governorship 2 years ago. There was also a fellow named Angus King in the race. He was the independent. Angus King won. So in this rematch now, at least Susan Collins goes.
Check in right now with Lester for the latest results nationwide. Lester.
We'll be taking a look at that Florida race in just a moment, Chris, but I want to tell you right now with regard to the U.S. Senate, based on information provided by voter news service NBC, is projecting that in Maine, Republican Senator Susan Collins will retain her seat. There are the raw numbers right now, 66% for Senator Collins, 34% for Pingree. Let's quickly move to our balance of power right now. This is not a surprise, therefore we'll put right here, we'll change another seat to dark red, Republican seat. There's the balance of power now as we build up from those that weren't up for election tonight. 41 Democrats, 34 Republicans, 1 independent now.
State of Maine, Susan Collins, the Republican incumbent, Fox News declares she will win a 3rd term in that state. This was a race that a few weeks ago, people thought might be up for grabs, that the Democratic Congressman Tom Allen might be able to beat her. But Susan Collins really has established a very strong record as an independent, as bipartisan, and she was able actually to paint Tom Allen as the party line Democrat, and she has won in the state of Minnesota. Now let's look at a few of the earlier races that were too close to call. Mitch McConnell, the Senate minority leader in the state of Kentucky, that race still too close to call, as you can see, awfully close, 2-point race.
Can make several other projections. Susan Collins, she will easily become re-elected in the state of Maine. She beats Shenna Bellows, as is the case with Thad Cochran, another Republican. He beats Travis Childers. Thad Cochran easily re-elected in the state of Mississippi and Alabama. Jeff Sessions, I don't think he had an opponent. He will be in the Senate for another 6 years.
Take a look at the map, if we could, to see all the states where there have been pickups by Republicans, as well as outstanding information. You can see red Maryland right there. In addition, red Illinois. Also quite surprising for a lot of people watching these races. We're still waiting for results from Connecticut and Massachusetts, Vermont, and Maine. There's a lot going on tonight. And Anderson, I have to say, I don't think very many people were predicting this evening that a governor of Maryland and a governor of Illinois would be Republican. And this gets to what we were talking about earlier. This is a Republican wave. There is no other way to look at it. And
pivot to Maine, a state that could potentially be in play for Democrats, even though Susan Collins right now has that about 6-point advantage over the Speaker of the Maine House of Representatives in Sarah Gideon. She leads by about 34,000 votes. There's a special rule in Maine. Voters there get to rank their choice of candidate. If nobody crosses that 50% threshold in Maine, it becomes a ranked choice tabulation. So the math here could change, and Gideon still has a shot. But again, the numbers overall are not trending in Democrats' favor.
Let's look at Maine. Right now, CNN has Susan Collins at 50.3%, her Democratic challenger, Sarah Gideon, at 43%. We can say that Sarah Gideon has conceded the race. CNN is not yet ready to call it. Alaska, the incumbent Republican, is ahead there as well. Dan Sullivan.
About 5 days ago, I was wondering why I came to the United States Senate.
I had the same belief that the American people had. This is a place that no longer is functioning. This is a place that it seems like we're just locked in gridlock and not able to get things done. And then an amazing thing happened. Under the leadership of some very strong and senior members, a group came together to have a broader discussion. A discussion, as we called it, the Plan B, the potential of being able to present some ideas that could, in fact, find their way towards compromise. And that under the strong leadership of Senator Collins.
Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says that he believes Alaska, Ohio, North Carolina, and Maine are the must-wins for Democrats if they want to flip the Senate. Maine Republican Senator Susan Collins is about to join us as she runs for her 6th term, 29 years in the Senate, facing off against a man who has become quite well known in recent weeks for various reasons, the Democrat Graham Plattner. He's got a lot of controversies on his hands, and he's asked often if there are more to come, including the Purple Heart recipient that he called dumb, saying he, quote, didn't deserve to live. Let me ask you just a couple of quick questions, if I could get, fairly quick answers on these. One is, in 1996, you said you would only run for 2 terms, and yet now you're running again. Why is that? And did that break a promise that you once made?
I did say that I would only run for 2 terms. I underestimated how much seniority, experience, and knowledge matters in the Senate. When I look at what I could do as a freshman senator versus what I can do as chair of the Appropriations Committee, the most powerful committee in the Senate, there's a huge difference. And I would note that it had been 92 years since a Maine senator had held the position of chair of the Appropriations Committee.
Very important position. And I know you took your 10,000th vote. You have a very impressive record in terms of showing up for these votes.
Fox survey out indicates the Senate race in Maine is shaping up to be a very close contest. Our new poll finds Republican incumbent Senator Susan Collins has a small 3 percentage point lead advantage over Democrat challenger Graham Plattner among Maine registered voters. But among voters who say they are extremely motivated to vote, Plattner leads by 9 points.